All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. Jason, you're the best. He did not attempt to kill me with a hot dog. but it was a close call. So my name is Kent C. Dodds, and I want to talk with you about the future of user interaction. But before I do, I should have tested this before, but you all can stand where you are, right? Hopefully, those of you who are physically able. I'd like to invite you to do that after I turn my clicker on. There we go. If you could please stand with me. We're going to get blood flowing in our bodies. It's good for your brain. Put your arms out in front of you like this. Squat down and come back up. This is called exercise. We're going to do 12 of these together. That was just a practice. And you got to count out loud with me. Ready? 1, 2. You got to count louder than that. 3. Yeah. 4. 5. This is kind of choose your own adventure. You can go really low if you want, or just like a little dip. 8, 9, 10. You know what? Let's start over. 1. No, just kidding. And 12. Okay, stretch over your head. And over to one side. And over to the other. Man, I'm hearing some of you are over 35. I'm hearing grunts. Okay, go ahead and sit down. Awesome. Thank you for that. Doesn't that feel good? And now blood is flowing in your body like it wasn't before, and your brain is using that, and now we can really talk about some exciting things. So, how many of you are familiar with Jarvis? Heard of Jarvis before? Okay, so for those unfamiliar, Jarvis is a character in the Iron Man series of comics. He is an AI, so referring to him as a he is kind of a misnomer, but has a persona and interacts with Tony Stark, who is Iron Man, and pretty much does everything for Tony. He's the personal assistant, which I would love to have, personal assistant, combat assistants, which I would love to not have to have, system control, emergency response, engineering support, I would love that also, research and analysis, even companionship. Jarvis is everything, can do everything for Tony, even in the real world, because Tony also has created his suit and he's got robots, and so Jarvis controls all of this stuff. And I think that's pretty neat. I would like one of these. I grew up as a Trekkie, and having the computer and just being able to talk to the computer and have it do stuff for me, fly an entire spaceship. I honestly don't know why they have pilots for those spaceships, because they've got computers that can do everything. But being able to have a computer that can just do everything for us, I think is pretty cool. And the actual experience of using this computer is even cooler, because it's not just typing at a keyboard, it's using natural language. That's like the ultimate form of declarativeness, right? We talked about how declarative is better than imperative. There's nuance to that and everything, but it's nice to be able to just say what you want and then have the computer figure it out and do it for you. And so using natural language has exploded for even non-technical users recently, because it's just such a better experience to say what you want, and then there's like 6,000 different ways to accomplish what you're trying to do, and the computer just figures it out. Multimodal, text, voice, video, and even gestures. Sometimes instead of, if you're going on a tour somewhere, I was in Greece, and I was going on a tour, and I actually had ChatGPT be my tour guide. And I would just hold up my phone and show it something and say, "What is this?" And it could tell me back. So rather than typing in my phone, trying to describe it, just using the video made a lot more sense, and it was a lot easier, and it was actually really awesome. You should try that sometime. It's pretty cool. Immediate response, Jarvis says, yeah, I can do that. It'll take all night. I'll tell you about it tomorrow morning, whatever, even if it takes a while. Proactive, hey, good morning, Tony. Here's what happened last night. Here's the important thing. Or, oh my goodness, there's somebody at your door and they're going to kill you. Or, something. No configuration necessary. Jarvis literally programs stuff himself, does whatever he needs to do. And Jarvis is everywhere. And it's the same assistant everywhere he goes. If he's in his suit, if he's in his car, if he's on his phone, texting to it, wherever he is, it's the same assistant that understands his preferences, and it has the context from all the other situations in which he's used. I think that we're experiencing a paradigm shift. For a really long time, we've been using browsers and websites. And actually, Jason's talk just a second ago talked about how the website and the browser together are evolving into something new. And I completely agree with that. I think that we are moving into a new future where browsers will evolve into Jarvis-like clients that just understand you and your preferences. I use the term understand loosely. I know, like, there's AI is AI, but and websites will evolve into MCP services. So what is an MCP? What does that even mean? Let's talk a little bit about that in a second. So my question is, what can we not do that Jarvis could do? And the answer to that is basically nothing. Pretty much like everything that Jarvis does for Tony, we have the technology to do, except for maybe like some of the holographic stuff that Jarvis, shows to Tony. But like we can generate UIs. That's something we all are doing as vibe coders these days. So the question is obviously, why don't we have Jarvis already? If we have all the technology to do what Jarvis can do, what's going on? Why don't we have Jarvis? And the answer is we've actually been trying for a long time to have that experience because it really is the best user experience. It's amazing. Natural language, controlling things. There's no onboarding experience when you are able to use natural language. You don't have to learn where the buttons are. You just say what you want to have happen, and it happens. But how many of you have used these and been disappointed? Yeah, especially, I don't want to call out anybody, but because I might activate some of your iPhones. So why don't we have Jarvis? Why are these leaving so much to be desired? The reason is integrations. So let's take an example. My son is having a birthday party. He wants to do it at the park. To make sure that I don't conflict with anybody else's party, I'm going to reserve a pavilion there so that we can have the birthday cake. So I'm going to go to my city's website, and I'm going to reserve that pavilion. In this future where Jarvis is everywhere, I don't want to have to find my city's website and find what page they have for reservations. I just want to tell Jarvis, hey, go, reserve that. But if you are Google or Apple or Microsoft or any of these big players who are trying to build Jarvis, that's Jarvis experience, you're not going to spend engineering hours building a special integration with Highland City in Utah. Like that just is not going to happen. So what they do instead is they build APIs, and then Highland City, Utah can integrate with that. But now those developers have to integrate with Apple and with Google and with Microsoft and with Amazon and with like all Samsung, everything. And they probably don't have the resources for that. And besides, even if they do build that integration, now I, the consumer, have to wire that up together and configure it. So nothing happens. The city's not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And it's all because the integration stinks. But what the city did do is build a website, because the website is a standard that they can build to. They create a web server, it serves some HTML, and I can use any web browser. They didn't have to talk to Google or to Mozilla or to Apple to get their website available in that browser. That integration just is natural because it's a standard. So I don't want to have a million things that need to integrate with each other. This is the world we live in right now. That stinks. It's awful. I want to have a robot that naturally handles the integration between all of these things. And if we can have some standard protocol for all of these services to talk to the robot, then the robot can handle integration from one service to another. And that is what the Model Context Protocol is. So let's talk a little bit about where the Model Context Protocol came from. So for a very long time, like 70 years, we've been doing artificial intelligence in some form. And we've had large language models for a long time. But to run a large language model yourself is not a trivial thing. And so nobody did this until recently when a host application showed up. ChatGPT is really the one that took everybody by storm and like, oh man, this is amazing. I can ask it questions and it will give me answers that are wrong. And that is so cool. And it really was. I remember like somebody shared a screenshot. They asked it to start a Docker container and it gave like a bunch of output. I'm like, no way, it's actually running? No, it wasn't. It was just faking it. But it was convincing and that was so cool. The problem was that if I'm doing this every time it's because my clicker's not working. But it can't do anything. Right? And so what we would do, and even sometimes still do, is I'd take my code, I'd paste it into ChatGPT, I'd ask it some questions about it, or I'd like tell it to fix something. It would rewrite my code with a lot of bugs, and then I'd put it back. Right? So like loading context into ChatGPT and getting something to happen outside of it, that just is not fun. I don't like it. It's not the Jarvis experience, certainly. So we get into this phase 2 where the host application says, hey, LLM is part of the system prompt. I can do a couple ththings for you. Just let me know if the user asks you to do anything where these things would be useful. So like I've got a search tool, and I've got a calendar tool, and I've built all these special integrations. So we haven't really solved the integration problem here. OpenAI and Google and all the other labs have to build these as part of their host application. But now it can do stuff. It's that thing. And that is pretty mind-blowing. We can now ask it questions, and it doesn't have to tell us about its knowledge cutoff date because it can go do a search. And in some cases, it can integrate with your Dropbox, and it can tell you about the files that you have in there, and it's really cool. And now you can build your own applications that wrap OpenAI AI or Anthropic or whatever, and you can include tools, and the LLM will tell you what tools you want it to have. So everybody now has their own chatbot. And that's pretty neat that you can have a chatbot that can control your application. And what we saw with web AI, that's pretty cool. Now every application has some mechanism for the AI to talk to it. And I think that's neat. The problem is that it can't do enough because we still have the integration problem. Everybody has to build integration with the specific chatbot that people want to use. And in addition, if everybody has their own chatbot, I'm still having to take context from this service, put it into this one, and then it outputs something, and now I'm going to this other service. So if I'm planning a party for my son's birthday, I have to go to the city, and then I have to go to the calendar, and then I have to go to all these different places. So yeah, we're still limited, and it's still an integration problem. So we get into phase 3, and this is where we get MCP. MCP means that we can do anything. Just like the web browser and websites, the developers can build an MCP server, and it integrates with anybody who implements that standard. You don't have to talk to OpenAI, you don't have to talk to Anthropic or Google or anybody else. You can integrate just directly. The big problem right now, as of today, is that the clients are not ready. They are getting more ready all the time. Just last week, ChatGPT.com added support for MCP. It's in developer preview right now, and so they will eventually have support for non-technical users for this, and consumers. That's where I'm really excited. But we are moving in a really good direction, so we're going to have some really awesome clients soon. Let's expand this architecture a little bit and talk about responsibilities and roles here. So the host application will somehow determine that it wants to connect to an MCP server. The MCP server will be managed by the service provider, and a client is instantiated for every MCP server that the host application wants to connect to. Now, how that connection happens right now, most of the time it's the user installs it in some form. Really early days, it was like you edit a JSON file. In some cases, it's still that way, and it's really bad user experience. But that can improve. And the real power of this is that the service provider controls the MCP server side of this. And so if you're Slack and you create a bunch of tools available for LLMs, and then you decide, oh, we're going to change our API, well, that's fine because you also control the MCP server, so you can change how that integration works. And as long as you're talking the same protocol, the same standard, then it will continue to work with any client that supports that standard. So I want to show you a demo of what this is like in practice, or this is actually back in June when I made this demo, so things are even better now. So here I'm saying write a journal entry in EpicMe. EpicMe is a service that I created for journaling that is only accessible through MCP. There's no website for it at all. For me at kentcdons.com, about my trip with my son, get my location and weather conditions, and make up a creative story with relevant tags. Thanks. I do say thanks and please for, yeah. I know it's a waste of tokens, but see, it's not how it makes the AI feel, because the AI doesn't feel. I'm perfectly okay saying that. It's how it makes me feel, and the kind of person it turns me into. So, be polite. Never mind, I could say so many more things. Okay, so Claude is like, yeah, I can create you that journal entry. The first thing that it does is it needs to authenticate me to EpicMe. So authorization is a thing in this world already. And so it's going to authenticate me at kentcdons.com. That's why I snuck that in there, so we could do this as a one-shot. Otherwise, it would say, hey, I need your email. And so then it says, hey, I sent you an email to go validate that. If I had an MCP server for email, for like Gmail installed, then it could probably just go look it up and do all this for me. But instead, I'm going to head over to my email and grab that token to validate who I am. And then, yeah, it'll validate the token, make sure that I do own that email address. And then it's going to get my current location, because it needs to write a journal entry. It needs to know where I am to do that. And so I've got another MCP server that's running locally on the device that will tell exactly where I am in the world. And from there, once it receives my location, then it's going to go get the weather. Now, I live in Utah. This address, or latitude and longitude, was the hotel I was staying at when I was in Poland. So no, you do not have my address. Yeah, so this actually is really, really cool. I want to call this out. So we have now used 3 unique services, all 3 of which do not know about each other at all and did not need to build an integration with each other. This is the power of MCP, that each one of these services write to this one standard, and then they can all integrate naturally because the LLM handles the glue, right? How much time do we spend gluing things together? It's not changed since kindergarten. We've just been gluing things together. I love that I won't have to do this going into the future. I think that is a really, really cool aspect of MCP. And additionally, like when I built the Locationator server or the GetWeather server, I wasn't thinking about people like writing journal entries and needing to know where they are for that or anything. I just built this one server that had this one purpose, and then it's able to be used for all kinds of things, and the LLM just can handle that integration automatically, which is cool. Okay, so from here, it's now that it knows where I am and stuff, it's creating tags to add to my journal entry. Oh, no way. Come on. I do have this locally, so if we have to... Good grief. I was too eager in my moving around of things. There is more I wanted to show you on this video, so let me... Yeah, let's... This is why we do backups. Even that is slow? That doesn't... Okay, here we go. Okay. Here we go. Coming back here. Right about here. Okay, so now it's creating the entry. You can watch this later if you want to. Pause it right there. The entry is pretty funny, as LLMs often are. So it created it, and I say, hey, could you show me that entry? And here you'll notice that I'm returning JSON. You could return Markdown or whatever. The LLM then interprets that. So what you return from your tool is intended for the LLM, because you don't know what the user is trying to get out of that response. Maybe I'm asking it to summarize this, or maybe I'm just asking it, hey, where was I at that time? Or could you tell me, like, did we see a dragon or did we see a whale or whatever? And so you just send back what makes sense for your tool, and then the LLM decides what to show you. So I just asked it to show me that journal entry, and it decided, okay, well, I'll put the title here in bold, and I'll put the content in bold, and I'll format it in a nice way that solves the user's problem. Let's say that instead of a journaling app, this was a social media app or something, and I had a friend who's Japanese who shared something with me. I don't speak Japanese, and they wrote it in Japanese. I can just ask the LLM, could you translate this for me? And it can do that. And it's all built into the host application that I'm already paying for. And the developer of the journaling app, of EpicMe, or whatever social media app, didn't have to build that feature for me to have that user experience. I think that's pretty cool. So here we come down and I say, delete it and log me out and yada yada. Okay. So that's a little example of what the experience is right now, but we can get even better. Sometimes text as output is great, but it's not lots of the time. Sometimes you want to be able to see something. If you want to say, what were our sales numbers last month, it's probably better to see some sort of graph. Or if you say, hey, I need a stopwatch, you don't want the text to come back and say, I started the stopwatch, just say stop when you want it to stop. No, I want to press a button. Or maybe I set it on the counter over here and now I'm like cooking over here. I want it to I want to be able to tell it to start and stop. So this multimodal capability is really important, and UI is absolutely a part of the future of MCP. We are not just going to be getting text back. So definitely take a look at MCP UI. It's a pretty exciting extension to the MCP spec. Actually, I do have a demo of that too. There are not a lot of clients that support this right now. Actually, the best one that supports MCP UI right now is Goose. Who's heard of Goose from Block? Yeah, it's pretty great. But here's a demo of MCP UI working in VS Code. Also, VS Code is probably the best supporter of MCP UI right now as far as like the amount of the spec that it currently supports. So yeah, we've got UI in here. You can actually interact with it. You can click on buttons, and it will actually talk back to the LLM, and so there's communication across that boundary. Of course, it's iframes. What did you think? We just don't care about security? Yeah, it's iframes. There are actually some really cool things you could do with remote DOM, so you can make those elements show up just in the context of the rest of the chat experience. You can also have, I foresee a lot more agents having like a sidecar, and so you're talking over here, and then it updates the UI over here. So it's not part of the chat history, because I think that experience is not altogether great. But we have a lot to explore here, and I think that is super exciting also. As far as clients and servers, we got them. They do exist. I think that there are actually a lot of clients that exist right now. I think that in the future, it will be a lot similar to browsers and websites, where you have like a handful of browsers that most people use, and then you have trillions of websites. And I think we're going to have a handful of clients that most people use, and then trillions of MCP servers. This is at least what I am betting on for the future, and there's some really cool things you can do with this level of integration. So I am excited about our MCP future. Just integrate all the things together. I think that's going to be a pretty awesome future. I do have a couple of resources for you. That was a mistake. So I have committed to teaching people about MCP. I don't know how many of you have taken my past courses, but for the last decade, I've been teaching people how to build excellent user experiences on the web. And I have, and all of that material is still good. Epic React still rocks and all of that. But I have pivoted over, and Epic Web, I'm literally wearing that shirt. But I've pivoted over to AI, just like half of you, at least, to teach you all about this future of user interaction, because I think that it's going to be a major impact. So maybe today your boss isn't telling you, we need an MCP server, but they will next year. And I'm going to be ready to teach you all about that. So you can take a look at that. Also, the spec is actually reasonable to read as far as specs go. So grab yourself some popcorn and hot chocolate or something and go read that. I'm also, this is great timing, next Monday, I'm starting a 2-week cohort to teach you all about MCP, including authorization and MCP UI, as well as the fundamentals and advanced features. So go take a look if you're interested in getting into that. The cohort format is a new thing for me, too, so I'm really excited about that. There are like 500 people who are signed up for that already, so you'll have a good crew. It's going to be fun. With that, I just have one more thing. You're great. Thank you.